These are the 5 essentials that every home studio needs. Are you a new musician or singer who wants to record themselves but don't know where to start? You see all these expensive home studios but don't have tens of thousands of dollars to invest but still want quality sound? Well, it doesn't need to be expensive nor complicated. Hey, I'm Tavon and I'm going to show you the 5 essential things that you need in your home studio. So the first thing that you're going to need is a computer, which is probably common knowledge, but you need a computer. The computer is the center of the operations, the brain of this whole thing, and you're going to plug everything into there, your monitors, to your microphones and other programs that you want to use to record your music. So everybody most likely has a computer, but if you don't, I got some recommendations for you. So at the very least, recommend at least 16 gigabytes of RAM and enough storage so you could install all the plugins. These are sometimes RAM heavy, programs. There's one thing: you don't want your computer to slow down and chug along while you're trying to render out a session. Now, if you need a computer, you could either go with a laptop or a desktop. Desktop is probably more permanent, so like for your home studio, but you can still use a laptop for your home studio. The pro of a laptop is that you can just take it with you. So if you want to go on a vacation, you want to do some music, you could do that. Go to the library while you're waiting at the bus, or while you're on the bus, you could use that. But sometimes the con is that, it is not as powerful as a desktop, but the laptops are getting up there. Cooling would be an issue most times. So if you're running big sessions or you're doing it for a long period of time, your laptop will heat up. And if your laptop heats up, it's going to protect itself by throttling down on the CPU and therefore making your programs run slower. So the operating system doesn't really matter unless you're trying to use specific software. You could either get a PC or you could get a Mac, which I'm using Mac right now. The reason why I'm using Mac right now is because a lot of the programs I use seem more stable on the Mac. And if you're trying to use things like Logic, that's only on the Mac, so you have to get a Mac. Now, I would recommend, so if you trying to go with the laptop route, I also have an M1 MacBook Air. That's, I think, came out in 2020. We're in 2024. It works perfectly fine. They're really cheap right now. You could get an M2 MacBook Air, and I'm pretty sure there's the M3 are out. They have the M4 on the iPad Pros right now, but you could definitely get an M1 and you still be good. And if you're looking for a desktop, I will recommend getting a Mac Mini M2. Just make sure you go pick up an extra monitor because it doesn't come with one. So now that you got your computer, you're going to need something to connect your other stuff to the computer, like microphones and your monitor. So the audio interface allows you to connect analog equipment like a microphone to the computer. So if you look on your computer or any computer or laptop, they don't have a XLR input on there. So you need a piece of equipment to be the interface between it. So microphones are analog and computers are digital. So you need something that will be able to communicate between them. Because so now what happens is, as I'm speaking in this microphone, it's taking the electrical signals and everything, and it can't just go into the computer. So the interface has to do a conversion and turn those audio signals to ones and zeros, and it records into the software. So that's why you need an audio interface. And also, so you can plug in your headphones or your studio monitor so you can hear your playback. So now the prices of these audio interfaces vary from $50 all the way up to a few $1,000s. So it really depends on what you're recording and how many things that you're going to be recording at the same time. For my personal use, I really only would record about 1 or 2 things at the most. Typically, I'm using the mic right now. There's just one input. For Lauren, when she sings, it's just one input. If we want to do a podcast, like we want to record something both together, I can have my input and she can have her input. Or if she wants to sing and play the guitar, record a guitar at the same time, she could do that. Now, if you need more input, so like if you're trying to record a full band or you just want more inputs, the price will drastically go up. So if you're a singer-songwriter who just needs an input for your vocals and maybe an extra input for your guitar or keyboard, I would recommend getting the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It's going to be on the screen. And that's about $120 for 3rd generation and $200 for the 4th generation. What I'm currently using is a UAD Aero. I think they discontinued that one, or they did a rebrand naming thing or whatever, but you'll see a picture up on the screen of how it looks and the price if you are interested. So you got your computer, you got your audio interface now. So now you need your microphone. So there's debate whether you should get a condenser microphone or a dynamic microphone for your home studio or just recording vocals, period. From what I was taught in school, it depends a lot on your room and your setup. Most people don't have great acoustic treatment, like I don't. You probably hear my daughter in the background, all that stuff. Condenser microphones typically pick up more details than the dynamic microphones. If your room isn't treated well, it'll pick up everything, and that's not what you want. Like it'll pick up all the reflections that are bouncing off in the room, noisy neighbors. We're right next to the fire department, so sirens are always going off, and that will get into your recording. On the other hand, dynamic microphones are typically quieter and it's good for blocking sound out, but you will need a good preamp to boost up the signal because it's so quiet. Since this is an essentials video and you're most likely starting out, I recommend that because you want to get the most bang for your buck. As you get better and you start to get more money, you can invest in higher quality microphones, higher quality condenser mics. So for the dynamic microphone, I recommend getting the Shure SM58. I have a Shure SM58. It is an industry standard. I also did a video about that, so check that out. And it's only $99, so you can't beat that. But if you want something a little bit more high end and high quality, this microphone I have right now is the Shure SM7B, and it costs $399. But like I said, it's a very quiet microphone, so you'll need a preamp to boost up the signal. And that preamp usually costs between, a good preamp usually costs between $100 and $150. But if you want a condenser microphone, I recommend getting the AKG P220, and I think that's about $145. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing so you can stay connected. Now back to the video. So you got your computer, you got your audio interface, you got your microphone. So now you're ready to record, but you need something to record it into. And that is where the DAW comes in. DAW stands for Digital Audio Workstation, and this audio software allows you to record your vocals, keyboards. So like we talked about earlier, if you want to use Logic, that means that you're going to have to get a Mac. Also, if you get a Mac, there's a free software called GarageBand, which is kind of like the streamlined basic version of Logic. So after you practice on GarageBand and get your feet wet, you can level up and pay $200 to get the fully loaded Logic. Personally, I use FL Studios. I've been using FL Studios for easily over 15 years. I just like the workflow. It makes sense for me. And you know, once you start using something over time, you just become really good at it, and that's what you usually stick with. FL Studio is very budget friendly. It starts at $99, but it can go all the way up to $500. But at that $500 level, you get all the plugins within that software. Oh, and the cool thing about FL Studio is that you get free upgrades for life. You got everything that you need. You got your computer, your microphone, and all that good stuff. Now you need to be able to hear what you are singing. So you can either go with studio monitors or headphones, but I recommend using headphones. Well, most people, including myself, don't have the space suited for studio monitors. They're nice to have, but not necessary. Alexa, stop. I mostly use my studio monitor just to listen to music on YouTube. On the other hand, studio monitors will give you more accurate sound. You're not battling with your speakers blasting through your room and bouncing off the wall and messing up your mix or even your tracking. Because one thing you don't want is a microphone bleed, and that means that basically blasting music is going to bounce off, hit your microphone, and mess up your recording. But recently I purchased some new headphones by Bayer Dynamics, the DT770 Pro. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. And guys, so right here is a bonus one, getting a MIDI keyboard. And basically a MIDI keyboard is just like what it says, it's a keyboard, but it interacts and interfaces digitally with the computer. Connected via USB, and you can play on the keyboard and it transmits those signals and it will play out the chords right there. But if you're like me, I have to do the hard way. I have to pencil it in and everything. So basically with the analog keyboard, you can play on your keyboard and what you're playing will be transmitted over to your DAW. So instead of doing what I do, is basically just click in on the piano roll, you can play your chords. So the chords that you play on your keyboard, you will see appear in your DAW. So one of the most important things that you need to consider for your setup is your microphone. So you may not know what the best microphone is to get, or you can be just like me back in school, the more expensive the better. Check out this video right here and I'll show you why this microphone is considered to be the GOAT of all microphones. I'll see you there.